Hey guys, it's Bailey. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the second part in my beginner's guide on how to record a song. In the first video, we talked all about equipment and the things that you need and what they do. Just to recap, we have our computer. On our computer, we have our digital audio workstation, or DAW. Then connected to our computer, we have our audio interface. We have a pair of speakers, and we also have a pair of headphones. We have a microphone on a mic stand. On our mic stand, we also have a pop shield, and obviously connecting everything together is cables. So now that we have everything set up, the first thing you should do before you start actually recording is to just get to know your equipment and get to know your recording software. Some of it's just going to be a learning process along the way, but there's nothing worse than just not knowing how anything works on your software, especially when you go to record. So as boring as it is, sit down with a manual, at least for the basics. I'm going to insert little screenshots of specific things on a recording software, but I'm not going to do too much because I personally use Pro Tools, but I know some of you might not be using that, and so I don't want it to get confusing if things look different. All in all, they're pretty similar across the board. You should have like a main project window where all your tracks are laid out, and this is where you're going to be doing most of your work. Then you should have kind of like a mixer window, and this will have all of the different audio levels and things that you can adjust on those tracks. You should have what's called a transporter, and this is basically the little counter that says where you are in your session, and it basically transports you around the session. It'll have your tempo and all the other things that you need to know to navigate around your session. One more thing before we actually start setting up the session is that after everything is plugged in, you'll want to make sure that phantom power is turned on your audio interface. Usually this is a little switch that says plus 48V or something like that. It's basically just a power supply to help power your microphone if it's a condenser microphone. Alright, so now we can open a new session. I'm just going to take you through starting a blank session with nothing on it. When you're creating your session, you will have to choose where to save it on your computer, so choose wherever you want it to be. You'll also notice some little numbers beside the words sample rate and bit depth, and some different formatting that you can choose. I'm not really going to get into what those mean because I'm just trying to keep this as basic as possible, but the standard for CD recordings are 44.1 for sample rate and 16-bit depth. So set it at that and you should be good to go. And it's also recommended that you use WAV format, that's .wav. It's just the most widely compatible format. So you're gonna open your session, it's gonna be a pretty empty screen, and the first thing you're gonna do before you even create tracks is go into your settings or preferences and go into devices or something along that line, and you need to set up your audio interface basically so that your recording software knows that it has to listen to your audio interface. Once you have that done, you're going to go into your input and output settings, and basically input and outputs are where the sound is coming in from and where it's leaving. Your input screen should have an input that is listed beside your audio interface, and that should just be coming out the main left and right outputs. You're going to go into devices or playback engine or something like that. Basically, it's as straightforward as it sounds. So it's the engine that it's using to play back your song. So that should be your audio interface as well if you are listening through your audio interface. If you want to listen through your computer, then your playback engine would be your computer. Whew! Okay, that's a lot of confusing little setting things, I know, but don't worry, it's not actually as confusing as it seems. I'm just like spitting out a lot of words in these settings that really take only like 30 seconds to actually do. Forums help a lot if you can't figure things out. I use forums all the time when I'm having trouble and I don't know what's happening. Just type into Google whatever issue you're having and there should be an answer somewhere. Alright, so hopefully you found yourself a pretty quiet room that you can record in. So now we're going to create our tracks. So you're going to want to create a stereo master fader, which is basically just going to be the fader that plays out everything. And in case you don't know, I'm going to be saying these words a lot probably in this video. Mono means a track has one signal, and stereo means it has two left and right signals. You're also going to want to create a click track, which is basically just a metronome. And of course, you will want to create your mono audio track, which is what will be recording your audio. So in this video, I'm just gonna do like a little random diddly that I can just play and record, but I know that I'm gonna wanna at least have guitar and vocals, so I'm gonna create 2 mono audio tracks. So on your audio tracks, you should see a little spot that says input, and that's basically where that track is recording from. So you'll want to set that up to whatever input your microphone is. So now you can record enable your track, which means that your track is listening, it's ready to record as soon as you hit record, but it's not recording yet, it's just listening. It's ready. Now you should see little signals going into your program. So you're going to want to set the input levels now so that you're not recording too loud or too quiet. So this will be on your audio interface. There will be a little dial that says mic gain or something like that. That is going to control how much sound is actually going into the microphone. So a good rule of thumb is if you see the signals on your track about 1/2 or even 3/4 of the way up, then that's probably a good safe zone. You're gonna wanna leave yourself a little room above where you see the signal and the top of the bar. They call that headroom, and basically, so like if you play a chord louder than normal or like sing a word louder than normal, it's not gonna go too loud. Da 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 da. Alright, so now we have our levels all set and things are sounding good. Now we're gonna set our tempo. Once you have the tempo set, because we already made a click track earlier, when you hit play in your session, even though we haven't recorded anything, you should hear a click happening, kind of like a metronome. Alright, so now everything's set up. You have your tempo, your track is all good to go with your inputs and everything. So now you just have to set up your mic and make music. So it's up to you what you want to record first. Generally, you should record kind of like the main instrument of the song. Because I'm only doing guitar and vocals, I'm going to record guitar first, obviously, so that I know what key to sing in. Now, where you place your mic when you're recording can take a little bit of time to figure out what you actually like and where you think it sounds good on certain instruments. For guitar, typically the rule of thumb is to put it pointing somewhere around the 12th fret of the guitar. So that is what I am going to do, and then once it's ready, I'm just gonna test a few chords, make sure the input is good again, just double check that. Now I'm gonna hit record on my program and it is recording. I'll let it play for a few bars so I can get myself ready and all in the zone, and then I'm just gonna start playing away. Usually within tracks you can create different playlists, or they might be called like a sub-track or something. So basically you can keep all of your different takes on one track and you can go through them afterwards and pick which take you like the best. Alright, so I think I have enough takes now with that guitar part. So now I'm gonna go on to recording vocals, and I already made 2 audio tracks when I made my session, so I have one already to go. So now I'm just gonna do the same process. I'm gonna set up my mic where I like it. I'm gonna sing a few lines just to test the levels, and I'm gonna adjust them as necessary so that they're in that sweet spot between halfway up the bar and 3/4 of the way up, and that looks good to me. So now I'm just gonna hit record, and I should be hearing the guitar part and the click track now in my headphones. So I'm just gonna sing along to that wherever I need to sing. And again, I'm gonna do a few takes just so that I'm sure I have enough to choose from afterwards. Alright, I think that's good, and I actually think that this little song could use some harmonies, so I'm gonna go and create a new audio track, and it's just gonna be the exact same process as before. I'm gonna create my audio track. It's going to be mono. I'm gonna make sure the input is reading whatever input my microphone is in. I'm gonna record enable that track, and now I should be hearing everything in my headphones that I've already recorded, so I will hear the click track, the guitar, and the vocals. So now I'm gonna sing harmony over top of where I want to sing. So I know I touched a little bit on MIDI in my last video in case any of you guys wanted to try that out. So I'm going to do the same in this video. Because this is another device that is external, you're going to want to make sure that your recording software is seeing that there's a device there and is communicating with it. And you might also have to adjust things in your input list as well, just because this is another source that audio is coming in from. So now that it looks like my recording software sees choose my keyboard, I'm going to create a new track. So this time I'm going to create an instrument track, and now I'm going to choose what instrument it is, because if you remember from the last video, MIDI is basically just a language. There's no kind of default instrument that it goes to, even though you're playing on a keyboard. It might default to a certain instrument. I think in Logic, if you create an instrument track, it automatically puts it as a keyboard or something, but that's your software doing that, not your actual MIDI device. And basically all of these little things that you can add or adjust on your tracks are known as plugins. There are tons of plugins out there, but your recording software should have some default ones on there. So I'm just gonna choose a little default keyboard sound that is on my program. So once I record enable my track, I should be able to hear the keyboard that I picked, and I actually don't really like that one, so I'm gonna go ahead and just look for another keyboard. I'm gonna do like a Rhodes kind of sound. Now that I have everything set up ready to go, I'm just gonna hit record, and again I'm gonna hear everything that I recorded, including my harmonies, and I'm just gonna play underneath it what I want to play. Alright, so now I've got everything recorded, and that's pretty much everything you need to know in terms of recording a basic song. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about editing your song, so going through all the different takes that you recorded and choosing the best one and cutting them and making sure they're in time and editing them together and just making your song sound like a put together song. Alright, so that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm sorry if I wasn't being maybe specific enough about certain little things. I just want to make sure that no matter what program you have or what equipment you're using, this is kind of just like a general how-to. If you have any questions or want extra clarification on anything I mentioned in this video, then please leave a comment below and I will do my best to help you out. Otherwise, I will see you in my next video, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Yeah, okay, bye.